LCEP Election Day, brought to you by Low Budget Productions. Tonight we bring the exciting congressional elections from Louisiana. Tonight we have the Senate with Mary Landrieu, John Kennedy. On the House side, District 7, Charles Bustani versus Don Craven. Let's get this party started.
I'm JJ.
And I'm Lo. And later on we're going to be hearing from Jamie and John on the House races. We're 24 hours away from Election Day here in Louisiana. Today's Senate races against Mary Landrieu and John N. Kennedy. JJ and I will discuss the Senate races and the issues that these candidates face tomorrow at the polls. But first, let's hear the Mary Landrieu story.
Mary Landrieu, a popular incumbent in this race, has been in office for 12 years now and was first elected to the Louisiana State Legislature at the age of 23 and was later elected to U.S. Senate in 1996. Today she fights again for her position as Louisiana Senator after winning her second consecutive term. Landrieu is a dedicated mother of two and the wife to husband Frank Sneelings.
Sounds like a great candidate, and any great candidate needs qualifying challengers to run to make it a close race. John N. Kennedy was elected without opposition to his third term as the state treasurer in 2007. Before becoming treasurer, Kennedy served as secretary to the Department of Revenue and also was a special counsel to Governor Romer, among many other achievements. Kennedy is the husband of Rebecca Ann Stubb and the father of son Preston, but he has no relation to the Kennedy family in the Northeast.
That's too bad, though, because that's a popular political family. Would have helped him out.
That's true, but he's still a popular figure regardless.
Now, let's take a closer look into the campaign. It's definitely going to be a good one, Lo.
Yeah, it is. The campaign contribution on Landrieu's side is $10 million, whereas it's only $4 million for Kennedy.
Yes, even with Landrieu's contribution lead, it's going to be a shaky time for her. Her support system left after Hurricane Katrina.
I know, those hurricanes are a big problem for New Orleans.
We can't forget, Kennedy's in the same boat. He's a very popular state treasurer, though, so he might pull through.
I'm not sure about that, JJ. He lost the previous congressional election that he ran in 2002.
That's true. Well, let's move on to the state of the economy and how each candidate is going to attempt to mend the nation's problem.
Well, to start off, let me mention that both candidates have experience as the state treasurer, so they both work well with money. Both Kennedy and Landrieu oppose the $700 million bailout that we just saw. Landrieu felt that it didn't include safeguards for all of us taxpayers.
And Kennedy didn't think it was realistic to solve the problem in a few days, seeing how it was built over a couple of years.
Kennedy also thought that the Bush tax cut were irrational since it only worsens the recession problem.
Landrieu supported the Bush tax cuts in 2001, but not in 2003, because she believed that it only benefited the wealthy.
The wealthy. Well, voters will definitely be taking these economic issues into consideration.
Now, Lo, let's move on to the war on Iraq.
Definitely. The war on Iraq. Well, Kennedy's thoughts on the war is that he thinks that the decision should be made on the ground by the generals and not by congressmen.
Landrieu opposes arbitrary withdrawal, but supports benchmarks in Iraq.
Although they disagree on Iraq, they both agree to have more military presence in Afghanistan.
Well, Lo, let's move on to the predictions.
Don Cravens Jr. and I approve this message.
Charles Bustani collects $20,000 a month in disability checks while earning $150,000 a year as our congressman.
That's bad. Bustani's got to go.
Bustani was able enough to collect $325,000 from the big oil and drug companies while we pay high gas and drug prices.
That's bad.
Bustani's gotta go.
And able enough to vote for $7,500 in pay raises for himself while opposing a minimum wage increase for us.
That's bad.
That's bad.
Bustani has to go.
Welcome back, and now for the predictions.
For you viewers just now tuning in, we're discussing the Senate races in Louisiana against Mary Landrieu and John N. Kennedy.
We don't know what's going to happen until Election Day, but I think Mary Landrieu's going to win.
I think you're correct on that one. The Southeast Louisiana poll says that Landrieu's actually up by 19 points, so, I mean, it looks like she pretty much has it in the bag.
LCEP, Election Day, Low Budget Productions.
Well, thank you, Lo and JJ. I'm John.
And I'm Jaime.
And now on to the House elections involving Republican Congressman Charles Bustani and his challenger, Don Cravens Jr.
Right. And tonight what we're going to talk about is the background of our candidates, some money contribution, major issues, and then finally our prediction. So, why don't you tell me a little background about our incumbent?
Well, Charles Bustani, being a Louisiana boy, he was born in New Orleans and resides in Lafayette. He also attended Southwestern Louisiana and also received his medical degree from Louisiana State in 1982. He's a retired cardiovascular surgeon with more than 20 years experience. He was first elected to Congress in December of 2004 and is now running for a second term in office in Louisiana's 7th Congressional District. He was also the first Republican elected to Congress from the Lafayette area district. So tell me about Don Cravens.
Well, he was actually born in Texas, but in elementary his family up and moved to Lafayette, and that's where he's been. So, as far as work experience, he's been a deputy campaign manager, and in 2004 he ran for the House of Representatives and won. And during that year, him and his father were the only father-son couple to have served in the same legislature. However, in 2006, his father decided to run for mayor, and his son decided to run for his spot and won, and that's where he is right now.
Wow.
Yeah, and they actually they're actually on a show called Cravens Squared. I don't know about the ratings or if that'll help during the election, but interesting enough.
I guess we'll find out soon.
But enough with the background. Let's talk about some issues. What is our incumbent's major issue?
Well, Charles Bustani, seeing that he was a retired cardiovascular surgeon, one of his issues is health care. And as a retired physician, he cared about thousands of uninsured patients and families. He also believes that Congress needs to expand access to affordable health care insurance coverage. And he also is currently in the progress of a patient-controlled Health IT Act that will ideally improve quality of health care and reduce costs to many families in the Lafayette area.
Nice. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
As far as Cravens, he hasn't been very specific on his actual health plan policies, but he has, as they all said, that he wants to improve it. But I figured there's one thing that we can do is look into his past, and maybe that'll give us insight into his future actions. As a former insurance agent and working with many insurance committees, he has worked with healthcare, not directly with policy, but with insurance companies, like one healthcare act that mandates health companies to provide fair therapy to autistic children. So it'll be interesting if he does win the election, what exactly improvements he plans on pursuing.
Was healthcare his only issue that he has?
Oh, no. He has another major issue. Well, as we know, many candidates run for Congress by running against Congress. He says that we need to clean up the bad in Congress, and he is highly opposed to pay raises, which actually our incumbent Bustani supported. So I don't know how that will affect our incumbent's race.
Well, it's Cravens, so-called, is trying to clean up Congress. Bustani is trying to clean up after the mess that Hurricane Rita and Hurricane Katrina has left behind. So one of his major issues is agriculture. And what he states is that it's an honor to fight for the needs of the farmers and ranchers in southwest Louisiana that have been affected by Hurricane Rita and Hurricane Katrina. He also stays committed to the agricultural community and looks for ways to strengthen Louisiana's rural economy. And now it's currently in the process of a new farm bill, which will reform to prevent wealthy individuals from receiving government payments. What about our challenger? No.
Actually, as far as issues, I believe we've hit some major ones. So, since we've looked at our background, our money contributions, and our issues, I think it's time that we do our predictions.
Sounds good.
Actually, with my prediction, I'm kind of torn because, as we know, our presidential approval for Bush is very low, which normally would predict that we'd pick up more Democratic seats. However, Craven is a very conservative Democrat, and he supports pro-life, pro-gun control. So I don't know how that will affect in this very Democratic county or district. And also, with his funding being so low, I just don't see how he's going to be able to pull this one through.
You make a good point. And as we're starting, he has $1.4 million raised. and saying that what you said, to looking in the past. In 2006, he ran against Mike Stagg and won by a staggering 71% over 29%.
Wow.
So that kind of makes me lean towards the Republican Charles Boustany.
Right. I definitely think it'll be a close race, but I just don't see how Cravens is going to pull it out with this one.
We'll see tomorrow. Well, I hope we've given you enough information so that you can make an informed decision.
And thank you for watching Louisiana Congressional Election Predictions. And if you haven't early voted yet, go vote November 4th.